It is a brand new episode of Flyers Daily for how about the 13th of October, 2025, Flyers Daily. As usual, presented by Ticketmaster. Make more memories live. Lots to discuss in this episode, but I can't start the episode without Bill's background of Mr. Barnard Marcel Perrant and the great Joe Watson. What a picture that is.
Well, when Bernie passed, one of the first people I spoke with is Joe, and Joe and Bernie were friends for 62 years.
That's crazy.
Yeah, Bernie was 18 and Joe was 20 when they were first teammates. So they were pretty much spent their whole careers together. So I thought it was fitting for this episode.
Yeah, I mean, I look at that picture and I go, that is two libraries of Flyers knowledge, stories, and history.
Yeah.
And I love both of those men.
So likewise, I think anybody who's known them, who's even met them, would agree with that. They're two one of a kind people, and the Flyers history would not have been what it is without either gentleman. Especially Bernie, but Joe as well, and Jimmy.
Yeah, just incredible ambassadors for the organization. Bill, why were they such nice guys? I mean, like so many guys that played for that team, whether people over the years throughout his career as a broadcaster met Bill Clement, or so many met Bernie at games. So many have met Bob Kelly. Why were these guys such nice guys, such nice people?
Well, I think part of it is that hockey keeps you humble. Particularly really for goaltenders and defensemen especially.
Humbling positions for sure.
Yeah, those are positions where you can never take a thing for granted, and just their general upbringing, and they were just quality, genuine is the word that comes to mind. They
authentic.
They were just themselves. They were just themselves, and that resonated with people. And they were, Joe and of course Bernie was too. Just happy people. Always optimistic about what the possibilities are for themselves, and never making excuses. And I think that resonated with everybody.
I think the thing that hits me about the picture the most is the smile on their face.
Yeah.
A, because they're together again, and B, because whenever you met them, that's the exact smile you saw
every time. Yeah,
they were just such good guys, man. I miss Bernie tremendously already, and I thank God Joe is still with us after all these years. Yeah, it's just that what a great picture you have behind you. I wanted to start there as we begin this crazy journey of a hockey season. These hockey seasons, they're long. I know some people say there's too many games, or they need to make more teams into the playoffs and evolve the league because so many teams miss half in, half out. I don't mind a non-expanded playoff field. I don't mind half the league making it and half not. I want my team in the playoffs, of course, but I don't want them in there at the expense of watering down the meaning of the 82 games. We're 2 games in. The Flyers are 0-1-1. Now, they played 2 tough opponents. We talked about Florida, and they'll have Florida again tonight for the home opener. And Florida is a back-to-back Cup champion. They're missing some key players. Lost another, actually, in the game against the Flyers. Not to the same degree, but without Barkov and Tkachuk. But you still see immediately how good of a hockey team that is. And I think the lesson to be learned in watching Florida is the teammate aspect of it, the way they play, the way they support each other on the ice, which is what we see. But I can imagine that support off the ice is as strong or stronger than what we even see on the ice. And to have success in today's NHL, you better have that.
Without question, because generally speaking, there's so much parity in the league. Guys who are average players in the league just draw a line down the middle, right? The average player, these are really, really, really good hockey players. Yeah. Guys who in other situations maybe they're not the ideal guy for a higher role in a team, but they could play that role somewhere else in a lot of cases. I mean, when you talk about a team that epitomizes the next man up mentality, and that's hard, obviously, without Barkov or Kachuk. Any team's going to feel that as you go over time. But the way that they play, they are so relentless. The Flyers did really well to take that game to the third period, tied at 1. Obviously, the goaltending had a huge part in that, and also the Cates line and whatever, the penalty kill was good, but just to have to hang in, and same thing against Carolina too. That there were stretches of that game where the Flyers could not get the puck over the red line, and they were hemmed in, so they really had to go in that bend but don't break mode.
Maybe an equally as potent team.
Oh yeah, I mean different. Obviously, a different hockey team.
Yeah,
different. I mean, Flyers more of a smash mouth kind of a team, and much more finesse and pure speed with Carolina. But just, I mean, you want to start a season with picking tough opponents right off the bat. Well, they got them. I mean, the things like the puck possession disadvantage that will get better as it moves along, just in part because you're going up against probably the two best possession teams in the league, except for maybe Edmonton's another really good one too. But you're talking about the cream of the crop in the league. Yeah. So there are things you can learn from watching those teams, and there's a bar, right, that's set for where you have to get to. Moving forward. So those are great tests in that way. And I guess the other thing is that the Flyers could come through in the home opener and find some way to win, whether that's an OT situation, whether that's a shootout, or maybe somehow in regulation. It's not a bad start, and you're almost done with Florida for the year. You've only played them twice out of 3 times, so
Yeah, I think the interesting thing with both of those teams is that both of those teams' identity and how they play is so instinctual. They both know that when you look at successful teams, that's a common trait of a successful team, is a team that doesn't think, knows where people are, knows what they want to do. I think you saw it on 2 of the Florida goals where it looks like they just throw blind pucks in front of the net. Yeah. Like the Stahl goal is a great example of that.
Goal. Yeah, those 2. Yeah.
There's nothing that is just throwing that puck there. They know that player is assigned to be there, has been assigned to be there since Rod Brindamore took over, and have been playing that style since. I don't think there's any luck or anything to that. And I think you did at times see the Flyers almost thinking on the ice, where's that guy going to be? Or, not knowing that consistency in message and messenger that those two teams have, I think did show up in those first 2 games. It wasn't just about a difference in talent. It was also about a difference in execution. And these teams know exactly what they want to do. And I think a really important thing for individual players and for teams is to know who you are.
Yeah. Finding, I mean, Talk loves the word staples, Tortorella like the word standard, whatever that is, identity, whatever word you want to use. But you have to have that. You have to have the game plan for this is how we play. And that's why it's so critical that no matter how talented players are, that they go to the right places, because that's what everybody else has to read off of. And if you don't go to the right place, everything breaks down.
Yeah.
So
it's a turnover and it's going the other way.
Yeah, and that's we saw that with Carolina's transition game in Saturday's game. Because the Flyers overall played, I thought their best period was the second period, but that was also the period where they gave up 3 goals, because of Carolina's transition game and B, as you said, they're guys knowing where everybody else is going to be.
Yeah,
and so that that definitely played into that. Whereas Philly played a strong period, but they ultimately lost that period 3-1.
Yep.
And they were all even strength goals at that, and that was really ultimately probably the biggest difference in the game.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The other thing, first of all, were you shocked? Because I was, that Dan Vladar got the start in game 1. I know he was better in preseason. I thought his game looked a bit more refined in preseason.
Yeah.
I try not to put too much into how things look in preseason or result. But I was a little surprised that he got the start in game 1. And if you were surprised, Bill, what does it mean to you?
Well, the message that I took from it is that we don't have a defined starter or backup relationship, right? It's a tandem. They're going to split time. Now, is it going to be 50-50? Is it going to be one guy more than the other? Is somebody going to get hot and get a run of starts? That remains to be seen. But that's right off the bat, right? That there was competition in the net, and that was the number one thing that I took from it. Well, going with the new guy with Vladar, more so than just the whatever happened in the preseason is what happens in the preseason. But that's something I thought that's something that's going to be an ongoing story to follow.
See, the thing about that story is it doesn't just apply to those two.
Yeah.
It's always accentuated when it's the goalie or the QB, right? You get the QB controversy or the goalie controversy. I think the thing that it said the most to me was, I don't give a damn what you get paid, what you've done, what you did last year, or anything. Anything you get this year will be earned.
Yeah.
And I like that because I believe that's a good way to get the most out of your team. Saying that, because I thought both games were goaltended extremely well, even though more goals were given up in game 2 on 39 shots than were given up against Florida. And I thought there was higher quality saves in the Carolina game from Sam Ersson, who plays tonight in game 3.
Great question.
This is the home opener. This one's a little different, right?
Yeah. If I just had to fathom a guess, and we'll see it. We'll see the morning skate because we're recording this on Sunday. If I had to fathom a guess, with 9 of the next 10 at home, and Vladar having played well against them previously, is they'll continue. They'll go back to Vladar for this one, and then stagger it and just alternate for the time being till some guy takes it and runs with it for a little bit. So that's my prediction. But I predicted wrong for the opener, and then I thought maybe Vladar gets the second one too. So I'm 0 for 2.
Yeah. But the weird thing is I don't think there's any wrong answer to it. Yeah. I really don't, because neither of the 2 games that they played, the loss against Florida or the overtime loss against Carolina, had anything to do with goaltending. Right. I thought they got, we've been seeking league average goaltending. They got above average goaltending in both of those games. Yep. And talking to Dilly just, in the hallway, he had told me, and I'm not breaking any news or breaking any confidentialities here, that the relationship between the two and the because they're both here, they're pushing each other in a very positive manner. So I think that's a very the only thing that can benefit from that is the team benefits from that. So we'll see where they go tonight for the home opener. I do think they will go with Vladar as well, and in particular because 9 of the next 10 games are at home. Yep. We're going to get to those other games in just a second. The fact that 9 of the next 10 games are at home to me is it's a scheduling quirk, but it's one of those things where they have to figure out how to be better at home.
Yes,
because they can't be there worried about the show or one bad power play sinking the rest of the game. The game is still going to be 60 minutes. The result is going to be what matters most. This 9 of 10 in the month of October, where you can't get behind the 8 ball, I think this may be the biggest month of the season because of the 9 of 10 at home.
Yeah. We talked a couple times before the season started that the Flyers absolutely have to get off to a good start this year. Can't put yourself behind the 8 ball and have to work your way up. I mean, let's say you're, let's see, 9 to 10. So you played 9 home games and only 3 on the road. And if you're battling uphill, you're really battling uphill from there.
Yeah.
Before you get into the home and home sets, before you get to 3 games and 4 nights kind of deals, you really have to make some hay right now before the schedule gets truly crazy. I mean, there have been teams that have already been in that scenario. Calgary jumps out at me because they had to play 3 games in 3.5 days. It wasn't even 3 and 4. That's how they started their season.
And one of them was Edmonton, like their arch rival.
Yes, starting in Edmonton, changing time zones to go to Vancouver, changing time zones back to go to Calgary. That's brutal. Well, that's awaiting everybody at some point. So while the schedule for the Flyers has been relatively moderate, and these are going to be a whole stretch at home, they need to make things happen quickly.
No doubt about it. Let's go back to the 2 games, because it is, especially in the Carolina game. In the first game, the Cates line with Tyson Forster and Bobby Brink was very good. They were the Flyers' best line in that game, and I don't think there's any question about it. In the second game, the Cates Forster Brink line wasn't the best line for the Flyers. It was the best line in the game.
No question. And I'll add to that. That was Bobby Brink's best game in the NHL.
Not even close. It was some kind of coming. I don't know what the hell was going on with his burst and his forechecking ability. I don't know if it has to do with new coaching, new philosophy. I don't know what it was, but damn, was he good.
Yes, he's always been the guy you figure when he's on his game, it's much more about quickness than speed. He looked like he was shot out of a cannon.
Yeah,
in that game,
tenacious, everything.
They just always around the puck. The few times where somebody he got it right back.
Yep.
And I mean, we always talk about the chemistry in that line. We tend to focus on, for good reason, on Cates and Forster, but it's been all 3 guys, and Brink really showed that. And we talk about preseason not meaning anything, but I thought he had a really good camp too.
Me too.
And he's taken it right into the season. So that's been one of the biggest positives to take away so far, has been the way that line has looked, because it's not a guarantee you're going to duplicate success, and so far they've taken it up to another notch, and vitally needed, obviously, so far, because they have to get some other lines going.
But the thing about it too is when you talk about that line, he's the guy that gets talked about in a positive manner the least.
No doubt.
He really is. He gets talked about. We talked about him this summer quite a bit, and he's kind of the guy okay, dime a dozen. You can find another one of him, put him in a package. But boy, has he been really, really good so far this season. I think so much of it. I had him on last week, and as we were walking down the hall after we taped the interview, I said, "Boy, you're moving really well. Your first step looks a lot different." I said, "Was it been 2 years since your surgery?" He said, "This is actually year 3 since the hip surgery."
Yeah.
And I think you can really see the difference. I mean, you look at his goal that he scores after he steps off the boards and then just wires a shot. Have you ever seen? We've been watching this game a long time, and it's one of the reasons we watch sports is we've seen so much, but sometimes you see something, you go, man, I have never seen that. I don't ever recall seeing a play like Grabenkin makes, getting an assist, but not getting a plus because he's not on the ice.
It's crazy. I remember 2 plays in particular. And in both cases, it's funny because it was Grabenkin's first NHL point, first assist. In both cases, it was somebody's first NHL goal.
Wow!
It happened against the Flyers. Max Talbot did it for the Penguins. He actually flipped the puck from center ice, stepped on the bench, was sitting on the bench, and the puck took 2 bounces past Niedermaki, who was still watching a replay up on the board, and it bounced past him into the net. So the guy who got the goal didn't even get a plus on that play.
That's incredible. That's a good one.
that one was crazy. And then there was a kind of similar thing. We try not to remember the Pavel Brendel era so much, but his first goal was a similar one where it was a puck that one at least went off of somebody.
Yeah,
but that one was just flipped in the zone, steps on the bench, and it hit off somebody into the net. But you hardly ever see that a guy gets a point on a play on an even strength goal without getting a plus on the play. Just crazy. But you know what? That goal doesn't happen without the good play Grabenkin made on the wall there.
Great play.
Yeah.
The question leads me to believe. Now, Jetlichenko made a mistake on the one goal. It was the Taylor Hall goal with the turnover in the offensive zone. But overall, first of all, Grabenkin keeps ending up on the score sheet.
Yeah,
seems like there's always productivity there, and sometimes you can go, well, this guy, yeah, he just kind of keeps ending up there, and he catches my eye, whatever. But you get to a certain point where you go, this isn't a mistake.
Yeah.
This guy ends up there for it's weird. I think he has a very interesting hockey IQ because he does something. I enjoy watching him because I really have no clue what he's thinking or what he's going to do. And sometimes I go, why the hell would you do that? But most of the time it's, boy, how did he end up in front of the net in that situation again?
Yeah.
There's 2 plays in the preseason where the Flyers score. He doesn't get a point on, and he is a direct result of the great screening of the goalie. Yeah,
that I was going to say that's been a huge thing. Taking the goalie's eyes away, he's really good at it, and the Flyers desperately need that.
Oh, they do.
That's something that he absolutely adds. And Tuck has used the word sticky a couple times to describe him. But I'm in saying that he's one of those guys who gets down low when the puck finds him, and that is a part of the hockey sense equation that doesn't happen by accident when it keeps happening.
It can happen for a week by accident.
Yeah,
but this goes all the way back to the rookie. It just keeps happening.
Just keeps happening. Yeah, over. So that there's something there that he has that he can do and he can bring. Now, is he going to be some 70, 75 point guy? No, he's not. But he's going to be a valuable contributor to a team in different ways. Just like that play on the wall. I mean, 95% of the time, 99% of the time, you don't get a point out of it. But what you do is you keep possession and you keep attacking, and that helps wear down another team. That's one of the little subtle things. And it was nice to see him actually get rewarded with a point on there. But just that part of the process is something that he can keep doing. But I know what you're saying also, where you don't know what he's doing sometimes. Like coming through the neutral zone sometimes. He makes some head-scratching decisions. But
both entering through the neutral zone and defending the neutral zone.
Yeah. So, I mean, those are adjustments that presumably, he'll have to make. But A, there's the coachability side, and B, if you can figure out the other stuff, if that's there, those are things he can learn how to do too. So that was another positive sign. It was a very heartening thing for his first game with the team. It went nicely, and that fourth line really made an impact.
They really did, which leads me to my next question. And this will be the first, and it won't be the last time that we question the decision making of the head coach of Rick Tocchet. Yeah. Just because he's new on the job doesn't mean he doesn't get questioned. Mm-hmm. Why was Nick Deslauriers in the lineup on opening night? Why was Nikita Grabenkin not in the lineup on opening night? I know Florida's a big, heavy team. I get that.
Yeah.
And I know that, sometimes we look at it very simplistically. We look at the team, we go, okay, this doesn't make sense, but they're, rewarding an old veteran does go a long way in that locker room. It does pay a dividend. But the way Gurbenkin played, and if he continues to play this way, you can't take him out of the lineup.
No, certainly not for the home opener. You can't.
No,
and it's not like he's not a heavy presence out there either. He's another big guy. You rewarded the veteran. I mean, we'll see how much longer D'Lo goes in the NHL. Because he's, I think, 34 years old now.
Final year of that 4-year deal.
Final year of that 4-year deal. But no, but I don't think it was a sentimental decision. I think that Talk was basing it off of Florida being that big, heavy team where,
off Bennett, off that, those players.
Exactly. A lot of agitating guys. Things sometimes get a little bit chippy, nasty out there with them, figuring we'll be ready for that. And D'Lo's not going to play a lot of minutes in general. So, but I think you have to go with your best lineup, and more so than preparing. I mean, of course, you have to prepare for an opponent to a degree, but I think you want your best lineup out there. That's something that I don't know that the Flyers went with their best possible lineup or their best possible combinations in some cases.
I agree.
In the opening game. So those are, those are all fair criticisms. And one of the things that I like about Talk is, he'll answer those questions honestly. He won't get his back up about it. He won't get defensive about it and he'll give an explanation. But, I think one thing that people are analyzing the games. Well, let's see the adjustments going forward.
The Cates, Forrester, Brink line, as we said, has been the best line for the Flyers, which is good. And they've gotten off to a good start. There's obviously the most familiarity with the way those three players play, especially with the forecheck and the way I call it a swarm because they're very close. And when they get possession, they thin. But there's also a problem with that because that can't be the best line every night.
Every night, yeah. I wrote that very thing earlier today, where you need TK and you need Zegras and you need certainly Michkov. Michkov has to be a lot better than he's been in the first two games. Neither. I
thought the first game he was very poor game for Michkov in Florida.
Yeah, and second game was okay, but he can be better. He can and needs to be better than that. He needs to be the Flyers' best player on a lot of nights to for the team to hang in competitively. And that's now I know there's adjustments that are involved. Talk has talked openly said about more playing a little bit more north with him. Picking his spot sometimes about where he tries to make a play versus where he lives to fight another day. So and he's trying to do. I can see that he's trying to do what Talk is asking.
Looks like he's gotten a little lost defensively a couple times.
Yeah, which is which has been his career so far. Those are adjustments that he's still working on making. So I think at some point they'll find a happy medium. And Michkov will build off of what he did last year, but right now he's off to a little bit of a slower start. It's only 2 games, and that could change. That could change in the home opener. Scores 2 goals, then
he could be off and running, and it could be
that is forgotten about immediately. But he's one of the guys that has to be better. It's the skill guys on the team that you figure your top of the lineup guys. Tippett is another one. Did have the goal. And it was involved in another nice play, but just on that shift in, kind of shift out basis. Those are the guys who have to be your offensive catalysts. You can't rely on the quote unquote the third line to be your best line every night. Now they can help set the tone in terms of process because they will do
territorial.
Exactly. So but in terms of leading the team offensively, those shouldn't have, I mean, Forrester to a degree has to be one of those guys. But just in general, that can be your number one offensive line. If it is, you're gonna have a lot of games where you score 1 or 2 goals. So
and obviously that's not good enough. Bill, we mentioned earlier that the Vladar Ayrson decision and what it means about, the best guys are going to get on the ice. Unfortunately, the Flyers right now are missing Cam York. He is on IR, which you and I agree. I think we both believe that he had a really strong camp. And there's a trickle-down effect to New York. When you move Sealer up, now he's not paired with Drysdale. Then, there's defensively that trickle-down is even more pronounced because there's less defensemen than there are offensemen. That being said, they recall Emil Andre. I have not liked Zamula's game this year at all. I think when Talk mentioned that some of his guys, in particular defense, did not have good camps and need to wake up, I think he was pointing a finger directly at Zamula. I know Zamula's agent maybe pounced back a little bit, which I thought was very out of line at this point in the season. Should we expect to see Andre in the lineup? I think he fills that role similarly to York from a stylistic standpoint as well. And whatever it is, Andre's got to use if this is the opportunity, he's got to really take advantage of this opportunity.
Yeah. Fantastic opportunity for him. Had a good opener for the Phantoms the other night too.
Yeah.
Right now, to put it kind of bluntly, not sugarcoated, the Flyers are a little bit in beggars can't be choosers mode right now.
Yeah.
So they can't worry about optimizing size in the blue line or anything like that. They have to, again, put their best players out there, their best hockey players out there, and things like your lineup mix and whatever. Those are things you can fine tune moving forward.
Charlie and I have talked about this quite a bit. You put your best lineup out there, and if it's a problem when you get to that point, then you address it.
And you address it, yeah.
But until it's a problem, you got to put your best lineup out.
Exactly. No, exactly. hit that on the head, you're trying to balance your pairs a little bit. Right now, any iteration of the third pair, and I think Juleson's been okay for the role that they have him playing, but pretty much any iteration of the third pair, at least half of that pairing has been shaky, and Juleson had a rough start to camp too. Without York, and certainly Andre's call-up certainly suggests that York's not going to be ready for the home opener. So it'll be interesting to see who sits. But yeah, you have to. So they had to move Sealer up to the top pair, as you said, right? They tried Zamula on the second pair. They tried Yinning on the second pair, and I think either guy, if they're in the lineup, or had to be in the third pair. And Zamula's had any number of opportunities. I don't know what the agent was getting at with that. It's like,
this guy's been on the number one power play at points in the last couple of years, for goodness sake.
And he's had games where he's had some extended minutes too.
Yeah,
he's extended 5-on-5 minutes, but the consistency has never been there to where he's been able to maintain that. So he's had the opportunities, and talking about opportunities where the Flyers are right now. If he could help solidify things, he'd get all the minutes that he wants because the Flyers need it. You mentioned the trickle down effect on the blue line. I think one guy it's affected so far in the first two games has been Jamie Drysdale, and I will grade that a little bit on a curve.
Yeah.
Just because he's been playing with a far from ideal partner in the first couple games, and the Flyers have had the puck very much for long stretches too.
Yeah.
He's been okay for the first couple games, but what does worry me a little bit for what the Flyers need from him is that they need him to be a catalyst, right? 2 games in the season, he doesn't have a shot on goal yet, and he's only attempted, I think, 4. Now I know there haven't been,
and he's getting power play time.
Yeah, he's getting the power play time, and he did make a nice. He didn't get an assist on him, but he was part of that goal sequence that ended up in the typical. Need a lot more of that. Need a lot more of that from Drysdale. When you're going up against those top kind of those top teams, like a Florida, like a Carolina, now Florida again, he has to make some kind of an impact. Just to make an aggressive play and make something happen. The Flyers really need that. They really, especially because there's so much burden on Travis Sanheim to eat the really heavy minutes, and he came through with a vital goal last game too. And it's not that Sanheim or any other defenseman has or needs to be perfect, but you just need them to do what you set out their role to be.
Yeah.
Sanheim has just played crazy minutes for the first couple of games. So
first 2 games, 10 minutes in the first period each game.
Exactly. But I really thought in the opener, oh my God, he's going to play 32 minutes the way he's going.
Yeah.
You can't.
Too many penalties too put him in that situation.
I was going to say, and then that happened in the first period too, in Carolina too. 3 more first period penalties. The Flyers have been already shorthanded 9 times in 2 games.
Too much.
That's way too much. The farm team, the Phantoms, are even worse. It's 11 times in the first 2 games. Yeah. So that obviously has to change. But we talk about your best players having to be your best players. Maybe Drysdale's situation hasn't been ideal again in terms of partner or whatever. You can't worry about who the partner is and whatever. If he is what the Flyers need him to be, he has to find ways to make a little bit more of an offensive impact. And he's worked a lot in his all-around game. He's in fantastic shape. It's certainly not hitting a panic button, but I think when you play a Florida and you play a Carolina, he's one of those guys that I look at to be able to make a play when you need one to be made.
And it can't just be predicated because his normal partner's not there.
Right. Exactly. 100%.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think he's got to be an impact player despite not imperfect situations. I'm going to ask you this question first, then I may go on a little bit of a rant. Right. What did you think of the disallowed overtime goal?
Okay, so I think regular listeners know that Paul Stewart, the U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame referee and player, is a good friend of mine, family friend, and I talked to Stewie about it, and he said that's a situation where the rule book stinks. Basically,
I totally agree with Stewie.
Where it needs to be
eventually, but yeah,
it needs to be rewritten because of the way the rule is written is that any incidental contact in the blue paint, unless the guy is pushed in and can't avoid it, even if the goalie initiates it, that's the crazy part. And a lot of fans have brought up, well, the goalie initiated it. It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
The way the rule is written, that's no goal. But you want guys to go to the net. You want guys to kind of try to create havoc down low. We got rid of the toe in the crease kind of deal, right? But we still have that goaltender interference rule. So it stinks. They made the right call based on what the rule is. Yep. They don't always make the right call on it based on the rule because it's inconsistent, and that's another maddening part of it is that you don't really know what the ruling is going to be. But the rule being what it is, they made the right call. But it stinks, and it's a lousy way, particularly in the last minute in overtime. You think you've won, you got to keep on playing, and you just knew that it was coming.
Yep. So. You knew the one-timer was coming. Great pass from Aho and tremendous finish, and they end up winning the game. And I totally agree with Stewie because while the call, according to the letter of the law, and I went off on this, obviously, on the post-game show last night, and as a former goaltender, I may receive some sort of suspension of my goalie union privileges, which are very thin privileges to begin with. Goaltenders are very savvy. It's a savvy position because of the way you have to play it and the consequence of the position. And I don't think there's a goalie in the league that hasn't looked at the video of that today and said, okay, very simple.
And then initiate contact
initiate contact, and then he'll be denied.
And if it goes in, it's not going to be a goal anyway.
Yep. Yeah. Because the fact of the matter is that Freddie Anderson, who's been around a long time, knows to initiate the forearm contact, therefore pulling him a little further out of position to make it impossible for him to get back to where, had there been no impact, he wasn't getting back to make the save anyway. The NHL, if evolution in sports is often determined by common sense coming into the equation. Unfortunately, right?
We have to get Stewie on one of these days. Because he raised that exact point. He said that when he made the transition from playing to officiating, the late great referee John McCauley, who was Wes's dad, said to him, when you look at the rule book, the first question you ask is, okay, why does this rule exist?
Yeah.
Right.
What is it designed to do?
Right. What is it trying to accomplish? And that's and in a lot of cases, rules are put in place to try to address something, some controversy from a year before. And Stewie has said, and I shout this to the heavens, completely agree, is when you figure, okay, why make a rule? You also have to figure, well, why not to make that rule?
Yeah.
And this is a great example of why just that blanket rule, okay, it covers all things. Well, it covers all things. Then you allow a perfectly good goal, really, to not stand, and it rewards the goalie for initiating the contact. That was a rule book failure and not an officiating failure.
Totally agree, because if he doesn't initiate the contact and he's just pulled out of position because of as Sanheim's attacking, he's attacking from the right to the left, therefore pulling the goalie from the right to the left. Had his skates not gone through the crease and contact initiated by the lunge and forearm of Freddie Anderson, it's the wide open net for Bobby Brink. It's easy. But because of that, and look, good on Freddie Anderson for initiating the contact. Don't think that wasn't done on purpose. Goalies are very savvy. Like, if a goalie needs a stoppage of play and a puck is dumped in, it's very easy for a goalie to stop a puck and keep it moving. It's also very easy for a goalie to just angle a stick and put the puck in the net, knowing his team needs a change, needs a stoppage of play. These are savvy plays. And look, I'm not asking the league for perfection. There will be some human element to this to go, was that contact initiated on purpose for this reason? And sometimes they might get it wrong. But like in that situation last night, that contact is initiated for the sole purpose of contact being obvious upon replay to disallow a goal. And I think it needs to be addressed in the rule book.
That's the problem of blanket rules, right? Now, sometimes when
black and white rules
when you're paying officials to judge, as you said, sometimes they'll judge wrong. They'll make the wrong call,
which is fine.
Yeah, I mean that's the human element of it. But that's but if you're paying them to judge, they should judge, right? Because you end up with bad things bad situations they're just dictated because there's no wiggle room to them.
I would hate to see that missed out point in that game last night be of large consequence in March and April.
Look at nothing's going to happen in the Flyers. I mentioned Calgary earlier. How did they miss the playoffs on a tiebreaker? Right? 1 point. Any point in the year would have gotten them in the postseason.
That point they didn't get in Carolina last night is as important as a point will be on October 9th.
Exactly.
Or excuse me, on April 9th, on February 13th, or January 11th.
Yeah.
They are all the same. And I would hate to see that happen because that is a flawed rule that needs to be addressed. And I think it will be. That's the good news, because I think that other goalies around the league are going to use what they saw in that situation to their advantage this season, and they'll get away with it this season. But hopefully it'll be the last time they get away with it.
Let's hope. Let's hope.
I mean, as a goalie, you want to initiate contact because you want to go after getting scored on.
Yeah.
What am I supposed to do? I just been pushed into the corner.
Right.
Well, you were pushed into the corner because you lunged.
Yeah, and
because you knew you weren't going to make the initial save and be able to get back.
Yeah, and they already made a slight tweak a few years ago because because if a guy's pushed in, they have to determine, okay, was there an opportunity to avoid contact? Did the attempt to avoid contact? Now already they added an element of judgment to it. They can add an element of judgment to it as well too, where okay, did the goalie initiate contact for purposes of shielding himself? If it goes in the net, then it's not going to be the goal anyway. So I might as well, as you said, do the forearm contact, and
I mean, he literally lunged forward with the forearm.
Oh yeah, it certainly looked intentional. So,
and to me, the other part of it is coming back from that road trip, 1-1 versus 1-1.
Yeah,
is different.
It feels different
with those two opponents.
Yeah, it feels different, and I mean, you said, well, it's just 1 point or whatever. Getting your first win of the season under your belt too is always a big thing.
Carolina, the team at that time with the highest odds according to Vegas to win the cup.
Where and a building where it's been a house of horrors for them in recent years to actually go in and win a game there. Yeah. That would have been huge, but I guess just move forward.
You're going to have to find a way to steal a game that you're not supposed to win as a result of that. So that's just the way it is. It's unfortunate, but that's just the way it is. Well, it's been a cracking start to the season so far. Home opener tonight at the brand new Xfinity Mobile Arena. The arena is not new. The naming's new, and there's a lot of changes. If you haven't been down to a preseason game, get there a little early. Check out all the new amenities and everything. It's going to be a fantastic night. I will see you tonight, Bill, as we get ready for the game, and let the home schedule get underway. Read Bill's work at PhiladelphiaFlyers.com. The work he puts there is excellent. The work he puts on NHL.com equally is excellent. The work on HockeyHotStove.com from Bill and his incredible staff equally is excellent. You cannot complain this season about a lack of good hockey coverage because it is being provided. So I encourage you all to check not one, not two, but all three of those sources out throughout the season. Have a great couple of days. Not couple of days. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll break down the home opener.
You're every day now. So
we're 5 days a week. We're ready to go, damn it. Let's go. All right, everybody, have a great night. Enjoy your hockey tonight. We'll talk to you tomorrow on a brand new Flyers Daily.